Hey guys, how you doing? Nick O'Leary here and welcome to the channel. This week we're looking at the Mercedes-AMG A45S. Now for me personally, this is a rather special car. I wish I had one. It's one of my favourite models. It might only house a 2-litre engine, but let me assure you that 2-litre engine will pretty much keep up with, if not beat, anything on the road. It's just over here, so let's not waste any more time and have a look. So then guys, what does Mercedes-AMG mean? What is it? So Mercedes-AMG actually stands for Alfred, Melcher and Grossersbach. So the A and the M are the actual two founders of AMG, Alfred and Melcher, and then Grossersbach is the place in Germany where it founded. But what is it? So AMG are actually the high performance vehicles of Mercedes-Benz, and it's actually a sub-brand of Mercedes. So much like the video I did a few weeks ago on EQ with all the electrics and hybrids, Mercedes-AMG on the other hand are the high performance division of Mercedes. So anything with the words Mercedes-AMG and red brake calipers and sometimes a spoiler, loud exhausts, big engines, they're going to be pretty quick. And this one is one of the fastest 2-litre engines in the world. So guys, as I always say, the Mercedes-Benz range is absolutely massive. You can get AMGs pretty much in any shape you like. There are of course a couple of models which don't have AMGs, but you can pretty much safely say you can get them in saloons, estates, cabriolets, which are convertibles, coupes and even SUVs. Now this one's actually the hatchback, the Mercedes-Benz's very popular A-Class, but with a few extra perks. So in here we have an extremely powerful 2-litre engine. It still is a 4-cylinder, but its horsepower puts out 421 horsepower with a 0 to 60 time of under 4 seconds. Now my own car is about, I think it's about 8 or 9 seconds. So this is rapidly quick. And you can safely say that pretty much any car you come across on the road, you'll beat it. Although you shouldn't race on public roads. You should save that for the track. But let's have a look at this awesome engine. Oh, and did I also say that all Mercedes-AMG engines, which are the 45s or 63s and even 65s, are made by one person. So Mercedes-AMG focus on a one-man, one-engine philosophy. Yes, that's right, the one-man, one-engine. So you can literally see that Mercedes-Benz even do this today in the year 2020. So it's such a nice touch, especially as AMGs do cost a little bit more than your typical Mercedes. So how expensive is Mercedes-AMG? Well, I won't lie, this particular one starts at $50,595 in the UK, and that's correct at the time of recording. But you have to bear in mind, although that does sound like a lot of money for an A-Class hatchback, you have to think about the performance and how the car's been designed to cope with that extra power. So to get this sort of power, you would have to either buy a track car or a supercar, and they're not cheap. So to get this in almost like an everyday hatchback is something quite special really. Just remember, it's not just the engine. You have to bear in mind you have high performance brakes, a stiffer chassis to cope with being able to corner and all that extra power, even suspension and brakes and things like that. And let's not forget the exhaust system. Now doesn't that sound awesome? Now I have actually driven the previous Mercedes-AMG A45 and I will be honest, the previous one was a little bit louder. It certainly did more crackling and popping and things like that. And I know it's really, really cool to have all that kind of stuff, but there is actually some truth in this, because unfortunately, due to EU regulations, and obviously Germany residing in the EU, they have to follow suit, and unfortunately because of this, they've had to make the whole car like a little bit quieter. But you know, it's one of those things that unfortunately we can't do anything about, but oh, it does sound good. Now I'm actually in comfort mode here, so I mean, it can go a lot louder. Just so you know, guys, unfortunately I will not be demonstrating any race starts or launch controls today in this video. I'm sorry, but this car has 76 miles on the clock, 76. So if you don't know, all Mercedes-AMGs need to be running the first 1,000 miles. The sticker is actually located up here in the top right hand corner of the windscreen. So no, I won't be demonstrating that today, unfortunately, because this car is super new. So let's have a little chat about how this car is so quick. You know, it's 421 horsepower. How do they get that out of a 2-litre engine, just a 4-cylinder? It's all down to Formula One technology and a thing called scroll turbochargers. In fact, this car actually has 2 of them. So basically what it means in English, it can spool up the turbos very, very quickly. So normally when you turbocharge a car, you have a bit of a lag. So when you accelerate, even in sport mode, you accelerate and nothing happens, and then suddenly it goes really, really quickly. When you have scroll turbochargers, they can spool up very, very quickly to a very high RPM. I was told the fact once of the RPM, it can go from 0 to whichever RPM it is. I can't remember which one it is. I really wish I could, but it does spool up very, very quickly. Part of that reason is why you have instant power. There's also lots of things to do with the AMG dynamics on the car, where you can actually enable a thing called drift mode. And yes, you can actually drift an A45S. Pretty cool, I think, although I won't be demonstrating that today as well, because I unfortunately don't reside anywhere near a track. I only have public roads, so and also I haven't drifted in a car in a really long time, so I probably would need a big open space to try it out again. Maybe I need to go to Brooklands and do a little track day again. Now, new to Mercedes-AMG A45Ss are also these extra buttons on the steering wheel. So quite a few AMGs are getting this at the moment, and I think it's quite neat actually. You get the usual touch pads to control the left screen and the right screen, but the controls just underneath control the engine and gearbox and exhaust and the ESP systems. So I can quite simply select this round, and suddenly you're in sport mode. You can hear that there. This car also has a race mode, so you can race the car. To do launch controls and stuff, you have to be in one of the race modes like Sport Plus or the race mode, but it does obviously enable you to accelerate the car from 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, which, as I've always said before, is insane. Plus also, don't forget the gearbox. It's actually called an AMG Speed Shift 8-speed dual clutch transmission. And basically, in English, what this means, it has 8 gears, it has 2 clutches, and a very, very quick response time. So, obviously you can see I'm kind of cruising at the moment, you know, just it would change gear in between the 1000 and 2000 RPM, absolutely fine. If you put your foot down just a little bit more, it'll downshift and then it'll go up a little bit more. I mean, that looks pretty quick as it is, but obviously as soon as you go into something like a sport mode, you'll find that the gear changes are rapidly quick. You can see the dial there just change in between 3rd and 4th gear, rapidly quick. So quick. And obviously, if you're driving this on a track, or you just want a very sporty drive experience, that kind of thing, you're going to want those very, very fast and rapid gear changes to help get you through the gears, get up to faster speeds. Of course, you don't have to drive in sport mode all the time. You can just drive this in its comfort mode, and it will go very subtle and subdued, and just change gear really smoothly. Now, regarding aerodynamics on the car, Mercedes-Benz take that very, very seriously, so even down to a simple A180 or an A180D, if you look really closely, there are aerodynamic styles all over the place, from the wing mirrors down to the vents on the front, which even open and close to improve efficiency. You'll even find this on the A45S as well. It will happen all in the background without you knowing. But more importantly, the aerodynamics that I'm focusing on is of course the spoiler on the back. Now, unfortunately this car doesn't have that, but it does actually provide downforce for when you're driving really, really quickly on a track. Now, I know most people who purchase a car like this probably won't take it on the track, but it does have that kind of cool element as well. But there again, I also get it if people don't want to go for the aerodynamic spoiler or anything. You can get that kind of subtle, kind of subdued look, so people don't actually know what you're driving. So I get it both ways, but I think it's more user preference if you wanted to go for the spoiler or not, because it is optional. Now, lastly are the brakes and suspension, which of course are all upgraded in a Mercedes-AMG vehicle too. So on an A45S, for example, it features a high-performance braking system. And what this does basically means, if you imagine when you drive around a track and you have to slam on the brakes really, really quickly, on normal brakes you'd probably find on a normal car, they actually start to fade after a while. Not in terms of the actual pad thickness or the discs or anything, it's more the fact that they don't become as effective because they get too hot. Now, that's actually not the case in an A45S because the brakes are so cleverly designed in such a way that they cool down under load. So basically, when you're driving really, really quickly, you will have maximum braking at all times. So even if you're pottering around town or anything like that, or if you're driving around a track, you'll find that they will not lose any of their braking performance even when under high load, which is quite nice. On a Mercedes-AMG, even the suspension has changed as well, and in the A45S's case, it actually uses AMG suspension with frequency sensitive dampers. So as you're driving down the road, it can adjust the suspension depending on the road surface to try and give you as much grip as possible. Of course, this can be changed using the dynamic select switch, which is located in the middle of the car, or of course on the steering wheel. You can change it from slippery, comfort, sport, sport plus, and even race modes as well. And there we go, guys. So remember, it's not just about the engine, it's the whole package combined. So brake, suspension, of course the engine as well does play a huge part of it, but don't forget things like the exhaust that just give it that kind of extra sound and excitement behind the wheel. And there we have it, guys. That concludes this week's video on the Mercedes-AMG A45S. Now, it is one of my favourite models in the range, as you can probably tell. It's super fast and it'll pretty much beat anything out on the road. Now, if you liked today's video, don't forget that like button and that subscribe button, guys, as well, if you want to see more videos just like this one, including tutorials, how-to videos, basically just videos to get the best out of your Mercedes-Benz. Likewise, and finally, that comment section, if you want to know anything about your Mercedes, I'll try my best to answer as many comments as I can. And if you have any suggestions, do leave them down below. Until next week, guys, see you then.